first of all, thanks for all being here. It's a pleasure to have you. So, purpose you insights on the tech and also data kind of coverage. So Justin will be the first to talk. It will give you insights when it comes to tech, but more focusing onto the financial sector. And Kevin will do the same, more on the commercial area. And I will finish with data. So I think some of you are already familiar with the format. So it will be, we want to keep it very, very casual. So that's why we have kind of asked, we have a Q&A type of session. So we talk each of us for our desk, and then we'll go to a Q&A for 10-15 minutes to answer your questions. So please, if you have any question, even if you think it's silly during the event, just drop your question onto the Q&A session, and then we will do our best to reply at the end. So as you know, in terms of updates, we will talk about what happened in Q2, what we believe might happen in Q3, what kind of company will hire, what is happening in the market. We will talk about salaries. We will talk about the latest trends, the newest technologies, which type of companies is hiring. So we do believe that this event is both for clients, companies who are trying to hire at the moment, but also for candidates who could be looking out at the moment. So yeah, if everything is clear for you, let's start with Justin. As I said, we'll talk within 10-15 minutes roughly.
Hi guys. So first of all, just a quick intro. My name is Justin. I specialize in recruiting for development positions, software engineering, BAPMs, mainly for the financial services market. So as Per said, we're just going to keep it quite casual. Just going to talk about some of the hottest skills within the FS space, do some salary benchmarking and some challenges which both candidate or client might face, and perhaps some ideas on how we can overcome these challenges. So if we kickstart with software engineering, I guess most of the traditional programming language that we all know, such as like .NET, C++, Java, these are, so basically we see, but however, we see a lot of growth and demand in, especially for Java developers recently, across banks, insurers, fintechs, consultancies. Basically, most companies are looking for Java developers because they've been changing a lot of things from C++ background to Java, because I guess it's more compatible, more complex environment, more multi-threading tools can be used. So definitely backend Java is very popular. If we go on to the front end side, it will be definitely more on the React.js and React Native. Especially, you know, these companies are trying to rebuild some of the new mobile applications with, you know, a lot of greenfield projects coming up. So they, you know, hence they see there's an opportunity to use new languages, just like React Native. And in terms of Python, I can touch on a little bit as well. Python is quite well commonly used for banks and insurers or some other hedge funds as well. And I see it as quite like a good pathway for candidates who want to get into data, because we have seen a lot of clients, especially looking for junior data people, who are open for candidates with a little bit of Python background. So if I move on to like project stuff like BAPMs, that is quite straightforward, because basically there is a huge demand for BAPMs, especially in consultancies and insurers, because as a lot of people would know, there are a lot of budgets for insurers to go through a lot of digital transformation projects. And these insurers in the past few years, they've been running on a lot of legacy systems, but right now they see this as a good chance to invest heavily in technology, hence they need a lot of BAPMs. And another thing would be useful candidates is having agile experience, because a lot of big companies like HSBC and whatnot, they use a lot of agile methodology. It's quite common for the past few years already. So I think for project people, definitely these are the top skills that you guys need to look into. I guess the next thing I want to talk about is a lot of candidates do ask me about should they continue on the technical or should they continue in the project management path. So in terms of the financial services industry, what I've been seeing is basically technical candidates are likely to negotiate at higher salary because a lot of developers might have different niche skill set. They might be really specialized in a certain programming language where they can negotiate based on that sort of skills. Whereas I think for BAPMs, it's quite difficult because it's hard to judge in terms of the technical ability of your role or skills as well. To give you guys an example, we've seen a quite experienced developer recently. We placed them, ranges about more than 120 to 150K per month. But then for experienced project manager, sometimes for even for big companies, probably ranges around 80 to 90K per month. So I think based on that, you can see there is a better chance to negotiate better salary if you keep on that technical route. One thing that I'm seeing less and less is for a lot of banks and insurers, they don't tend to management position right now. So even if you do manage a team, they require a very strong technical skills, whether it is a certain development. With the tighter budget, it's hard for them to justify to hire a senior person just based on managing a large team. And the next thing I would talk about is some of the challenges that I think recently candidates or clients might face. So I think the biggest challenge is the mismatch skill set. For example, new programming language such as like React.js or React Native, but realistically, these candidates might not exist because there are relevant experience. So that brings me down to how I can, we can overcome these challenges, right? So I think first thing would be a little bit flexible with your salary. You can always accept, but it's one of those where are you going to look for extra or are you going to look for salary? At this period of time, I would suggest candidates to prioritize exposure a little bit because these tech stack is always changing, and you should focus on the long-term gains rather than short-term wins. Next thing is always practice your development skills with different platforms like HackerRank or CoderPad, because a lot of my clients are using these sort of platforms to test technical skills now. And it is a really, really easy way to practice at home. So look at it while you're about to go into interview. And lastly, I would say, it's just based on seeing a lot of candidates without the solid working experience in a specific language. You should provide some sort of portfolio or some sort of side projects that you can bring on. to highlight to clients about, perhaps maybe you don't have ABC in terms of technical skills, but then I have done these as a side project at home. A little bit more chance in terms of securing a role.
Are experiencing some sound breaking, as Tom has raised. If you want to stop the video for us to try to get a better sound. So if anyone is experiencing kind of a sound issue, feel free to raise on LinkedIn.
Sorry guys, I'm just going to pass it on to Kevin to run on a little bit more on the non-financial services side. He's going to...
Hi everyone, this is Kevin. Yeah, let me introduce myself. I work in recruitment about 6 years, and my focusing area will be on IT hiring in commercial area, also into professional firm, consulting firm area as well. I do a lot of changes recently, especially for this 2 months. Market slightly come back, and I can tell some of the area like Pâris or data area have a strong demand on like great talent, especially for those overseas people. Although right now they have overseas restrictions, but still a lot of demand of the hiring for a niche skill set. In terms of the hottest skill set in programming side or engineering side, I would say JavaScript is one of the hottest skill set. For backend, of course, Node.js, frontend, React, Angular, Vue.js will be a little bit more diversified compared with FS area. And then some of the niche skill set of microservice architecture becomes also very hard because of a lot of the company. Recently, they're doing a lot of the transformations program. And then for some of the areas like solution architect have a huge demand, and also consulting role become huge demand, not just only in the consulting firm, but lots of the MNC large enterprise company are looking for internal consulting for those transformations and also change management as well. In terms of a lot of the people always come to ask me about what is the difference on the career path versus in enterprise and startup. I would say a lot of startup recently in past 5 years, I would say a lot of startup opening, but make sure you have fully understand the startup background, funding, make sure your job secure, because otherwise you may damage your resume as well. But in terms of salary-wise, yes, they are looking for very niche skill set. They pay well. Sometimes you have like 30% increment. It's quite common in startup company, especially for looking for some niche skill set. For enterprise, yes, of course you have to follow the traditional route to get a promotional path. But yes, for job security, I would say this is important for enterprise area, and then you got recognized by different company because it's an enterprise company career as well. In terms of mismatch skill set, I would say, because I Justin also covered a bit on mismatch in terms of the skill set. I would say right now, because that version, and then even though the beholder SAP, there are lots of the latest versions. I would say for project management, a bit easier because they are more talking about in terms of the project management skills, communication skills, project timeline, budget, etc. But in terms of engineering side, I would say they change a lot and very fast in different versions as well. So I would highly recommend for all engineering, keep studying, keep learning new technology. Otherwise, if the technology is faster than your knowledge, you pretty much see your salary cannot be like increase a lot, and also your career will be a little bit tough, I would say. Yeah, and then right now, I will see a lot of interviewer always asking some interesting questions. Traditionally, they're asking about, hey, can you share me about some successful project experience? Of course, storytelling is a must, and also they're asking you about the communication skills. But nowadays, I will see a lot of HR, lots of the hiring manager also asking about some disaster case. Of course, in terms of disaster case, you have to mention that, or you have to highlight that your achievement inside this case. Why you telling me this story? Because you are here, how you fix it, how to solve it, and then how to please the client and also your management as well. So I would say a lot of the client will checking with this type of the questions. And then also, I can see a lot of the candidates, they have not enough preparation in terms of the interview. Always you got dead air, stuck on these questions, and they cannot get a like pass on these questions. So be more prepared yourself for the interview. And then they were also asking you about, hey, do you have any updated chance, skill set, language, product you would like to learn, even though you're not yet have it, but which type of skill set you potentially want to learn it. So prepare yourself and also think about for your long-term career product language, especially for like programming language. I will see a lot of clients potentially they like to implement like Java's favorite latest framework. If you gear up yourself, definitely it's going to help you to get through the interview process. So in terms of the salary expectations, I would say last year, to be honest, not much changes in terms of the engineering and program management, pretty much similar with previous year. But I would say right now the market after the fourth wave of COVID, market start coming back, and then I would say client will be more and more hire a lot of people, and they are more willing to pay for hiring good talent. Some highlight of the industry in terms of commercial area, I would say retail and FMCG company, they are start doing a lot of transformation area, and then they are start hiring a lot of people over there. So you can keep on eyes to see whether your skill set potentially may fit for them. And then this is also one of the industry potentially you can take a look. Because in terms of retail area, yes, bit affected by the COVID, but in terms of the downside, or I would say the market slightly slowed down because of COVID, due to sales marketing or some advertisement. But right now, because of the I would say a little bit downside in terms of the market, they are more willing to spend on IT and kickstart earlier in terms of the transformation program as well. So I can see in the market right now, FMCG and retail, they hire a lot of people over there. So, excuse me. Yeah, so I would say this industry might be, you can take a look. Then in terms of, I would say in terms of the interview skill set, back to the interview area, retail industry normally is quite fast, like 2-3-1 interview. Of course, startup normally 1-2-1, but for retail industry would be 2-3-1, and the interview time is like take around 2 weeks normally. Some company will take 3 weeks. So in terms of the process for the interview, it's quite fast. So this is quite highly recommended for this year. Maybe you can take a look on this type of industry. So Pâris, your turn.
Questions already. So I got your point about the sound. So what I will do, and I want you to kind of reply on LinkedIn, I will turn off the camera and I will try to speak very slowly and to articulate a lot for you to have a better sound at least. So let me check. So feel free to let me know right now in the next 2 minutes if the sound has improved or if it's the same. First, apologies for this issue. That's the Wi-Fi of the company is not amazing, especially these last couple of days. So first of all, I wanted to thank Justin and Kevin for the insights and sharing the insight, because yes, I know that those insights and those tips, especially during interviews, are kind of gold. Now coming to my side, a very quick introduction. Once again, I'm a tech recruiter. I'm covering data in Hong Kong, as most of you must know. So there is a couple of topics that I wanted to cover. So the first topic is definitely what happened in Q2 in Hong Kong from, I don't know, March to perhaps. You have to be aware that COVID has been a big thing last for a lot of companies. So financial services, retail, FMCG, even consulting, a lot of them were kind of stopping to hire. They've put the role on hold. Then Q1, things have started to get way much better. So a lot of new hiring. But Q2, to be frank, is where I've seen a real recovery on the market when it comes to jobs, when it comes to new jobs. So not only replacements, but new roles, new teams. Which area has been impacted, and why now? Why in Q2? So basically, if you got me over the phone this last couple of days, you hear me saying quite often that the COVID situation has kind of speed up a lot when it comes to digital transformation, and especially platform, which means that in Q2, especially just after Chinese New Year, after maybe early March, mid-March, a lot of companies have really understood the importance of having a good data platform or a good infrastructure to be able to support the business, but also the customers. So therefore, a lot of data engineers role have started to pop up. The ETL developer, could be data architect, to kind of bring to first the business a better platform, but also and foremost to customers. So that's also one of the biggest trends. Is now financial services and retail are heavily focusing on how to attract and retain customers. So you can see a lot of new platform. You can see a lot of retail department within banks and insurance who are trying to get those customers on board for the project. It makes sense because people cannot go onto their physical branches anymore. So everything is going digital. So for insurance, for instance, the agent, they're not doing that much face-to-face, or banks the same, and retail and FMCG, they are pushing for the customers inside Hong Kong, but also sometimes outside of Hong Kong to buy the product. So we are in a new area where the physical commercial and the physical business development is done in another way, and it's all digital. So these initiatives are run in Hong Kong, but trust me, it's also covered all over the region. So Singapore is doing the same, Malaysia is doing the same, because now the initiatives are run regionally. So what does it mean for the market? First, it does mean that data engineer is now the sexiest job in 2021. It's not data scientist anymore, and data engineer and data architect, because not a lot of people have those skills, and more companies are asking for the candidate to have either cloud skills, could be AWS, could be Azure, could be GCP. So GCP is a bit on the margin. The more popular is definitely Azure, especially in large corporates like insurance, bank, and some of the retail, but also AWS is getting more and more popular. And beyond the cloud, you also have other type of skills who have comes along the way. So it could be those ETL skills, the ability as well to run the project from end to end. On top of the data engineering skills, you also have more and more projects with deployment. And trust me, if you have to push for one of your skills, it might not be data analytics and dashboards, because it's kind of pretty basic now for a data scientist. It's all about the deployment. So can you deploy at scale your models? Yes, you are able to do fancy machine learning and deep learning. That's amazing. But can you deploy those models onto regional or global scales? That's something else, because now companies are seeing not just the Hong Kong market, they really think on the regional side for most of them. So cloud, if I have an advice, is definitely to invest into cloud and to deployment with deployment tools. So that's what happened in Q2. So recently, I've seen a lot of moves from candidates who were very passive in the market last year, and now they have felt the gain, the momentum. So they have decided to give it a try, and a lot of them got offers. So in the next couple of weeks, expect to see a lot of changes in the market, because June, I guess, for data people has been a very good month. So May, June has been a very good month. So yeah, a lot of changes to happen now. In Q3, what I can foresee in the market is the changes has been kickstarted in a lot of companies. So last year, only a handful of companies were hiring, but now it will be a true competition. So now I'm addressing myself to clients, because there is hiring managers, because there is in this meetup, the market will become way more competitive than earlier this year. So which means that candidates in the market will have several offers. There will be counter offers. They will be counter offered by the company. So if your project is not attractive enough, if you don't have any career prospect, if the technology that you use are not attractive enough, first, you won't attract the candidate, and second, you won't be able to retain the candidate long enough. Singapore, where in Singapore people tend to stay in their job 1 year, 1.5 years as an individual contributor, and then move on to another job. So that will be the reality of Hong Kong, I guess, in the next 2-3 years. One will still be recovery onto the market and onto a lot of new exciting projects. Big difference is that financial services and consulting were hiring. Now this year, back in the race of getting the best talents in the market, which means that retail, FMCG, supply chain, luxury are not traditionally a sector who pays the most, but they have brought a very cool innovation like computer vision, NLP, recommendation engine, neural network. So their project is attractive. Financial services was now a better salary to give to the candidates. Another sector will be booming in Q3 is consulting, because the market is getting better, because the companies are have gave the green light onto the market. Consulting firms will be the sector we will hire a lot, attracting those people from in-house who want more data strategy projects, perhaps less hands-on exposure, but more data strategy, perhaps more data governance or data quality, data privacy type of exposure to the market. So that would be a reality of consulting, and consulting is an area where you can have a fairly decent increment compared to financial services or retail, who sometimes are a bit greedy. I guess not greedy, but they have a scheme, they have this salary scheme. So it's very nowadays to get more than 20% increment of your base salary if your bonus are quite equal with the new company. So 20% is still very good to have in the market. So in terms of the Q3 updates, so that's where the market goes. I know that there is clients, so clients are once in the markets. There is also some junior candidates. For those junior candidates, my advice would be to definitely try to set up your own project, because experience is what you can sell to clients. So as Kevin and Justin has shared, when you go to an interviews, they will ask you your achievement, your project. So you have to come with concrete things, not just knowledge of, oh, I've studied, I don't know, statistics, I've studied this and this during my master or my PhD or whatever. So you need to come with real concrete projects. So build yourself your own concrete project and release everything onto GitHub, because otherwise you won't have anything to sell to clients, even if you are the best communicator. If you haven't made any tangible projects, companies will go to someone more senior, where they trust that they can that the person will be able to run the project. So that's the cruel reality, especially for juniors. But the people who are delivering the most are the one who are kind of the more trustworthy for hiring manager, because people are still very risk adverse in Hong Kong. Some of the hiring managers are even not data people, so they're not technical, so therefore they will just go to someone that they can trust. So yeah, so that's pretty much on my side. So good recovery in Q3. Expect for the best candidate, once again, only for the best candidate, several offers, especially if you are within financial services and you have a very smooth communication, and if you want to get a job, now is the time, because end of Q2 has been good. I can see that in the next couple of weeks the market will even slow down, because some people will start to go on holidays. So even on my side, and I can start to feel it in my desk, the market will slowly start to kind of decrease the number of jobs that we release on the market. So I do believe that September will still be a good month, but don't expect amazing jobs, especially if you are senior. End of July and August. September and September will be different. End of the year will be normally a bit calmer, but yeah, now is the time. July is the time. August, early September, not too much happening. You have still a couple of minutes to release your questions, so we will release the questions, the three of us. So the first one is obviously, and we cannot share the name, someone who's asking what's the name of the platform you said that you were practicing. Sorry again for the voice. So normally these platforms are HackerRank and CoderPad. So I will try to answer the question directly. So HackerRank and CoderPad. So the answer would be for everybody. Someone else has asked, what advice would you give to job seekers who are transitioning to data and have had many years of experience in the deep? I was about to ask Justin, Kevin, you want to answer this? So yeah, I'm back onto the video. Very good question. You had, I don't know, 5, 10 years onto business and you are transitioning to data. It's could be very complicated. A lot of people believe that, yeah, they would switch very, very easily, but in reality, you will compete with fresh grads who have, I don't know, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, and we are already hands-on. So I will suggest that you go consulting because you know the business, you know the strategy, you know how to talk to the business stakeholders, but for an hands-on position, it will be very complicated because once again, you will compete with junior candidates who are way more cheaper. And I do also the same in tech as a whole. What guys would you advise to someone who transition it?
Maybe I go first. If someone working in different industry and going to join a technology market, for engineering side, of course, you course, and then learning some hottest skill set. We mentioned it before, like JavaScript, or might be a mobile development skills as well. And then company is more open for hiring people who come from different industry or different background. So yeah, I think skill set is more important for them to hire, especially for niche skill set. Other than that, I would say communication skill is also important because I would say in startup area, normally for the candidates, not just about coding machine, but also data and also presentation skills to talking with and then manage with your senior stakeholder and then report to the CEO directly. So I would say communication skills is also important for during the startup industry as
well. Guys, we will, ladies and gentlemen, was much better without the video. So another personal project that are technically more complex or those that are more relevant to the industry that they are applying to. I will let perhaps Justin or Kevin reply, and I will also reply on my side.
Personally, Nico, I would say more relevant to the industry that you're applying would be a better idea because basically, there's not much use to build a really complex project to showcase a technical skill that you know. I would say, for example, let's say you don't have a React Native experience, for example, then perhaps just build out a side project doing this sort of language. Doing a project with this language would be a little bit more useful rather than building something really mega and big and complex to show the job client.
I do believe that Justin is right. So you can create or build the fanciest project if it's not related to what the companies and the hiring manager wants in Hong Kong, they don't care. They don't care. So I know that you're a data scientist or even kind of a software programmer. So you can come up with the best idea ever. If it's not applicable on the market or if it doesn't bring any value for the company, they don't care, clearly. And yeah, a good question from the same person once again. Can you share some insights on the importance of a candidate knowing foreign languages, mainly Mandarin, for tech and PM position in 2021? Interesting question.
Kevin again, the language, if you're mainly Mandarin, this is an advantage, especially for a lot, I would say, Chinese company. They hire a lot of people who can speak Mandarin and also have to actively working with I would say PLC people. So if you have Mandarin speaking, you native in Mandarin, definitely is a big plus. But if not, I would say English still is the most important in terms of communication language. Because even though in Hong Kong, Canton actually, to be honest, is not the most important language, I would say. Even though like Paris, who he's only speaking English, but still communicate a lot Canada in the market. So I would say English is still the #1 communication language. Secondly will be Mandarin, and thirdly will be Cantonese. The rest will be Japanese or Korean is a plus.
可以说普通话。No, but yeah, I think he's totally right. So Mandarin is becoming more and more important. Justin, on your side, even within financial services, do you see more clients asking for Mandarin?
Because of the growing Chinese market, Mandarin is always needed for a lot of developers. Sometimes a lot of offshore developers might be based in China, but I would say sometimes it doesn't. Even if the client says Mandarin or Chinese is preferred, I think it all depends on the skill. If you do have the relevant skill and have the relevant projects, what we would do is we would just be transparent with the client. Just let them know, look, we have a candidate right here who does not speak Chinese or Mandarin. However, he or she is perfect for the role because of ABC. I think it's just more about being transparent to each other and see if the job really matches. Otherwise, language probably a secondary thing.
Skills are more important unless you have kind of a Cantonese and or Mandarin. It's less likely that you will reach a fluent level within 3 or 4 years. Because those languages, depending on your ability to learn language, it's very, 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 very difficult. So even if you learn to read, that's great. But why they want the person to be able to speak, because the environment and to be able to communicate with the stakeholders or with the team. And if you start from scratch, yeah, getting some courses on italki or taking some courses is great, but better to get onto technical skills first. Do we have a final question? Let me check. Yeah, we have another question. So data engineering is getting more popular. Yes. What a bit more, and what would it refers to? So that means MLOps, debug, scale job, setting up the right environment, platform, text, and so yeah. Let me elaborate a bit more onto data engineering is getting trendier. So why it is getting trendier? It's because companies have more and more products that they want to release to either some part of the business or onto their customers. And before, let's say between, I don't know, 2017 or 18, there was a lot of POCs, a lot of projects, a lot of, we have the models, we try to kind of get into kind of a very R&D phase where we push those projects to the business to see if it works, and slowly it was more and more implemented. Aside from a very mature environment, like for instance, insurance or some of the retail companies who are done the models for ages already. But in the less mature environment, yes, it has been the case to a lot of POCs. Now, with COVID, a lot of companies are seeing the importance of first having a strong data platform. And by data platform, I'm talking about having not being on-prem, but being in the cloud. And also to have what they call a strong data pipeline where the data analyst will be able to work properly on the data, and for the data engineers to be able to share good quality data. That's also another big topic, because data engineer, they haven't been massively hired these last 2 or 3 years. So data scientists in the past, in the last 2 or 3 years, they had the kind of the responsibilities to do the cleansing, the collections, the process. Because of the, especially for instance, new data, quality data. Therefore, data engineering, so data quality issues taking importance. But it also means that now that the POCs are ready, and now that the business is kind of ready to adopt more data science or advanced analytics, it does mean that those models need to be scaled, large financial services or even large retailers. So when you talk about debug, schedule jobs, and right environments, yes, that's very secondary. MLOps is a skills that almost nobody have in Hong Kong, aside perhaps for the juniors who are kind of fresh grads. They have learned to go on to the end-to-end project, but for most of the data scientists, they know how to build the model, to design the model, but they don't know how to deploy the models onto new data platforms. So therefore, MLOps from one part and data engineering from the second part is becoming more important, and it has been stressed on the market because nobody, like only a few people have these skills. So if I have an advice, as I said, focus on MLOps, focus on cloud, focus on data engineer, because you will increase your value on the markets, basically. We will let perhaps 1 minute. If you have one last question, now is the time. You can ask it on LinkedIn. You can ask it onto Zoom directly. If nobody has any other questions, I just wanted to thanks once again Kevin and Justin, who has been there, who have shared some very good market insights. Kevin, just perhaps the last words.
Yeah, thanks for your time, everyone. Yes, me, Justin, and Paris mainly will be focusing on permanent market, but in our company also got a teams on more focusing in the contracting and interim side. If you got any questions in terms of like interim contracting area, yeah, you guys can also feel free to reach out to William Mitchell, and then yeah, he will be answering up your questions in terms of like contracting and interim hiring as well.
Yeah, this is Justin. Thank you guys for staying late with us to listen all the tips and advice in the technology market. So if you guys have any other questions or any, curious about what sort of jobs we have right now, whether you're a candidate or client, feel free to reach out to us or Paris or leave us a DM, and then we can connect again after this meeting.
Yeah, clearly feel free to connect. So most of the attendees are people that we know, that we have in our network. I will, on my side, will start to do again more face-to-face meetup, because my videos are great, and I do believe that meeting each other face-to-face and working all together is also a good way, like putting a face on sometimes some names. So if you are keen to meet this summer face-to-face during this kind of event, only with kind of a restricted number of people, just let me know, because this is the way I will go, and I do believe that my two colleagues also will go. So yeah, thanks to everyone, and have a good evening. Take care. Take care. Bye bye, everyone.